Hi there, this is Eshu. I'm the abbot here at Zen West Buddhist Society. This Living Zen podcast is just one of the many resources we've created at Zen West to make Zen practice and training more available and accessible to people all over the world. Instructional videos, printable resources, and much, much more are also available on our website at www.zenwest.ca. If you're a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop me an email at office@zenwest.ca and let me know who you are, how you got started, and what brought you to Zen. Everything we make available in person and online at Zen West is only possible because of the support of our members and associates, people like you. If the efforts of our community are making a difference in your life, I'd like to invite you to show your support and take part in making it happen by becoming an associate or member of the Zen West Sangha. You can do this by clicking the Join Us tab on our website at www.zenwest.ca. Thank you for your support, and thanks for listening. Already tonight, for many of the members and regular practitioners here on Tuesday and with Zen West, tonight's already been a wonderful opportunity to investigate this Zen practice. In our Zen form, in our tradition, there's a lot of structure. Sit still. When we come together to practice, as we continue to practice together, there are a number of responsibilities that each of us takes up. We accept responsibility for creating a space, creating an environment for a group of people, a sangha, a community, to come together and practice. That responsibility is a big one, and it includes all kinds of little tiny details, lighting candles, putting out flowers, setting up the cushion, opening doors. Each task is intricately and carefully divided. Each responsibility is squarely placed on the shoulders of an individual role. We call these roles things like the jikijitsu, or the shoji, or the densu, or the ino, or the shika. And each role has a set of responsibilities. And one of the greatest challenges as we come into training is to be bound by our job description, or to be bound by the role that we take in training. We're so used to having really blurred lines in who we are and what we do in this world. And so when we come into Zen training with these clearly defined lines, we find that at the beginning we're often being corrected about being too helpful. And this is sometimes a little bit confusing for us because we think, oh, I'm just trying to help out. But in the training model, the attitude is that we allow each person to feel the weight of their responsibility. When we take the whole thing and divide it up, each responsibility isn't so big, and it is so clearly defined so that that person can have an opportunity to feel the weight of that responsibility and has the opportunity to engage that, to grasp that, and embrace that responsibility fully. And in doing so, we have the opportunity to experience our part in a very fundamental Buddhist teaching. This teaching is called Pratityasamutpada in Sanskrit. It means interdependent or codependent arising. All things in this vast cosmos are born simultaneously together and rely on each other. This teaching permeates every aspect of form, every aspect of everything that we do in Zen. It's a core teaching of the Buddha Dharma. We see it over and over again in each aspect of form. Whether we look at the walking meditation, where we walk in step and close behind, we have to pay attention. We have to completely embrace both the big picture of what's going on in the room. How do we manifest harmoniously with the complete activity of walking as this world together, one foot after the other? We also have to pay attention to what's going on in our internal world. Because if we become distracted, even for a moment, and we fall out of step, we can see immediately, we can understand immediately how that impacts the world. Everybody behind us in the line falls out of step. So each person accepts responsibility for our own practice. When we come into this group to practice together, if you're just a newcomer, you don't have so much responsibility. But you do have some, even as a first-time newcomer. Your responsibility is to pay attention to what's going on inside of you and what's going on outside of you. You have a responsibility to take up a balanced, straight, stable, still posture. To not shift around responding to every stimulus. To just be present with the simple activity of sitting and to manifest harmoniously with the practice around you. Tonight's particular opportunity for the regular members was that we had to hustle. The door was locked and we didn't have the keys to get in, so we didn't get in until, I think, half an hour or more late. Several people who were responsible for roles were not able to attend tonight, and so the people who are responsible for making sure that the people who are responsible are in the roles had to scramble. Cushions were being laid out at the last minute, and chant sheets laid out on top of chant sheets, and zabutons laid out backwards. And yet, when the beginning bell sounds, everybody drops into the form of practice. And this, for me, is a wonderful opportunity to test training. Just like it's all nice, it's well and good to be able to sit in an environment that's been set up to allow us to stabilize the body, to allow us to sink in, relax, and stabilize the breath. And in a shout, cut! There's a sudden noise. Are we able to enter into this unfolding activity of our lives? Are we able to become dynamically aware of what's taking place in the midst of our lives? Or am I interrupting a fantasy you're having? Am I disturbing your comfortable repose? This is Zen practice. Our practice is not just about doing things comfortably, setting up a ritual form or a pattern of doing things in our life which makes us comfortable. The reason that we set up this format like this is so that we have an opportunity to investigate what's going on in this world around us, what's going on inside of us, so that we can gain some insight into where we hang on what we chase after, what we run away from, so that we can soften towards the things that we find frightening, so that we can embrace the things that we find difficult, so that we can let go of the concept of how things ought to be or are supposed to be and embrace what's arising in this moment dynamically. This is the last Dharma talk that I'm going to give before I leave on Sesshin and before the ceremony on the 28th, in which I will be made an Osho. For me, this is a wonderful demonstration or a wonderful opportunity for all of us to see, to witness the practice that has developed here at Zen West. In this catastrophic perfect storm where club days has happened and maybe the most newcomers on a single night for the entire year come. We don't have the keys 30 minutes late. A bunch of people don't show up. And yet, when we accept responsibility together, when we commit to creating this space and offering this practice, we are able to come together and offer this a refuge. For all of you who are new, it's your first time here, I want to say welcome. For all of you who are students, I implore you to remember this practice and remember this opportunity throughout your time in your studies. There's going to be times where you think you're going out of your head, where you think you don't have time, where you think that there's a million other things you should do other than sit. But just remember this practice, this opportunity. I hope that it will be a place of refuge for you, a place of community, a place of nourishment.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.